Talks, and we're going to be talking today about breaking free from being stuck in life. You know, every time I talk, it seems like I talk about last year, talk about the past, the 20, and we're still in a lot of the pandemic, but, we've all kind of gotten stuck, maybe y'all haven't, but anyway, it's, we've been stuck at home, we've been stuck in our businesses, we've been stuck in several ways, but sometimes we just get stuck emotionally in our life, and it's like we can't go forward. And it can be, difficult to get out of that stuckness, and the longer you're in it, the deeper hole that we dig for ourselves sometimes. And, it's like being in quicksand. The secret of getting out of quicksand is don't panic, stop panicking. And then what I read is to lay down on your back and use your legs to dig yourself out of the quicksand. So I just thought that was interesting, because the more we panic about anything, the deeper we go. Because we get up in our heads, most of us do, particularly if we're addicts, we get up in our heads and we make up all sorts of stuff, and so I just thought we'd go over a few things. It's that panicky stuff is a big one. It is really big. But if we do get stuck in our life, we're really in good company. Some of the most famous people that we've had have known have gotten stuck in their life. Like Albert Einstein, he got stuck in his life, and my goodness, I mean, look what he did for us, And then Walt Disney, he thought his career was over. He got stuck, but, he pulled himself out of it, and, we all have those wonderful parks to go to, the movies to watch, and all the things that he's done for mankind, not just on the commercial side, but for, who Walt Disney was, So we're in good company if we do have periods of time of getting stuck. And I used to have a sponsor years and years ago, and I'd call her, and I'd be making good progress, and then all of a sudden I'd hit a stopping place and I would get stuck, and I would feel like I wasn't getting anywhere, kind of like that duck in water, on the surface. I would look pretty good, but my feet would just be, paddling so fast. And what she would call it, she'd say, well, Tennie, you're just back in the ditch. And she said, the ditch is not a bad place to be in. And she said, you stay in that ditch till you can learn why you're in the ditch and learn from being in that space right now. And she said, when you get out of that ditch, you're going to come out on a deeper level of sobriety and serenity than you've ever had. God's going to bring you out of that, and you're going to be farther along than you've ever been. And she helped me see the recovery wasn't just a straight line going up. I just wanted to go up, till my head was in the stars. But she says, it's highs and lows. But the ditch, I got to where I didn't get so scared anymore of like having some down times and being in the ditch. Because I'd call Pat and she'd say, okay, that's your classroom. Let's see what you're going to learn through this. And she'd always say, now you remember, you write this down. You write about it and write what's coming up about being in the ditch. Because when you come out of it, you're going to be at a different place than you've ever been. And that has been very true for me. Because most of us don't learn a lot when things are just really good. When life is just wonderful and smooth sailing, we might pause long enough to say, thank you, God, thank you for all this good stuff. But the lessons, I believe, for me anyway, have always been in the valley. It hadn't been on the mountaintop. We try to get up there at that mountaintop, but when you do, there's no vegetation up there. There's really nothing on a high mountaintop. the fertile land is in the valley, down there at the bottom. So one of the things that I've come to realize that we're all going to have breakdowns, but with every breakdown, there's a breakthrough. That's the good news. With every breakdown, there is a breakthrough. So when I heard that, it really was good information for me, because when I would have like a breakdown, and this would be mainly years ago, when my mother would be, drunk, and maybe my husband would be drunk, and I had a house full of kids, and woe is me and all, and, nothing was going right, and I'd have a breakdown. But every time, there would be a breakthrough. So that's just some little information about with every breakdown, there's a breakthrough. So I want to go over some things about breaking free from being stuck in your life. One of the things, it's a choice. You can choose one way or the other. If you want to stay in the ditch and you want to stay in a bad place, go for it. Get all the good out of it that you can. Suck it dry. Feel sorry for yourself. Do whatever you need to do, and feel as bad as you want to, because you have a choice. When you're ready to get out of that bad place, you will. You will get out of it. And particularly if you have had, and everyone I'm looking at on the screen, I know you have had some good times in recovery. So you know what it feels like to feel good. So when you're in that ditch and you're feeling bad, just have that memory that, I can get back there, or I can even go farther. So one of the things, before I think you kind of start any kind of change, is to invite God into it. Invite God into it. God knows everything about us, but if you could just say, God, I am in a stuck place. I don't know what to do. I don't know which way to go, and invite God into it, and then take some action. Now, we can't just sit around on the couch and, we could if we wanted to, twiddle our thumbs and put it all in God's hands and expect Him to, give us the breakthrough just because we're asking. He's that powerful, but the God that I believe in is, works like this. It's in a partnership. I do the footwork, He blesses the effort, and so I think with anything, it takes some action, and, breaking free from being stuck in your life is going to take some action. And I wrote it at the very top. Used to, we called our intensives breaking free from codependency. And we used to do a 3-day weekend, and but the intensives are really a time of breaking free for people. That's what they do. They break free from whatever bind that they're in, and doing that kind of work can really help people get to the next level of recovery or whatever. So I'm going to throw that little commercial in, because that's the first thing I wrote up here, is doing an intensive of some sort to, break free of where you're stuck. So the first thing that you do is, make a decision, a choice, whether you want to stay where you are or do you want to move forward. And then invite God into the process. And another thing, the first thing, or not the first thing, but one of the things is face your fears. Face your fears. A lot of people stay where they are for fear of the unknown. And so it's about, we settle a lot of times. We settle for where we are. We settle in our jobs, in our coupleship situation, whatever, we settle. And because it takes too much action on our part to make any changes. So I'm not telling you to go out and change everything in your life, but if you're kind of stuck, it could be that you have that fear, and it's about facing your fears. What is holding you back from becoming what God has intended you to be from the very beginning. And then something simple like break your routine. I have a routine. I may imagine all of you have a routine. And people could, in a lot of ways, not every way, but I'm pretty predictable. People could probably set their clocks by my routine or their I do pretty basically same things. But every once in a while, I like to break that routine, and that can be something as simple as, heaven forbid that I would do this. Usually what I do, I get up, wake up, and I do a short prayer and meditation and read a meditation book before I ever really open my eyes very good. And then I'm a compulsive overeater. And when I wake up, I'm hungry. So the first thing I do is I eat breakfast. So if I want to break something, kind of break the routine, I'll wait a while to eat breakfast. That's just one small thing. Maybe go take a walk instead of, and then eat breakfast later. But it's just kind of breaking up that routine a little bit and not be so predictable. Just maybe one small thing. And then if you don't have a routine, the opposite of that, get your routine. If you want to break free from being stuck in your life, if you're scattered in your life and you can't get anything done because you overthink everything and you're too busy, too busy thinking about it instead of taking action, so one of the things you might need to do is to get a routine. That would be different for you, to get a routine. And then overcome the perception of impossibility. Overcome that perception that, this is such an impossible thing. I could never do this. It's impossible. One of my Tennie-isms is trust the process. When I'm working with a client and we suggest they do something, I don't know if I can do that. And I just say, just hold it as a possibility. Just hold it right here in your hand as a possibility. And if you're willing to even visualize that and see what that possibility might be, that gets you out of that impossible thinking. Because we can do a number on ourselves with that, it's just impossible for me. I'll tell you, God, I have kids, I have grandkids, I have great-grandkids, and I want the very best for them in every area. And that's how God sees us. He wants the best for us. We're His kids. And so when we put ourselves down and we say, this is so impossible, we're shortchanging ourselves and what God can do with us. So so overcome that perception of impossibility. And then be honest with yourselves. When you're really honest with yourself and you go inside, a lot of times when we get frantic about trying to make a decision or don't know what we need to do, one of my favorite, sounds like I'm doing a Bible class this morning, but anyway, one of my favorite verses, or my favorite verse, is be still and know that He is God. And then you break it down, be still and know. And then break it down further, be still and then be. So just give yourself some permission to just be quiet, just just sit with yourselves for a while. Just be still. And then when you do that, what's going to amaze you, that whether we like it or not, so many times our answers are right inside ourselves. They are right inside ourselves, and all these other things, the fear and all that, keeps us from really going inside and acknowledging that we do have some answers. And then, in a 12-step program, it's recommended that we don't just charge off on our own and figure, and do those things. It's about when you feel like that you really know what the answer is for yourself, go check it out with someone in the program. I've always had like 3 people that Oh, I see Miss Ashley. Look at her. I've known her since she was a baby. She came here when she was a little baby. She graduated from Gymnast High School, didn't she? Good to see you. Good. Now she has children of her own. So, getting back to, if we can be still and know the answers are inside of us, but go check it out with someone else. Like I said, I usually have, throughout my recovery life, I've had 3 people that I would check things out with. By the way, all 3 of those people have passed away, and so I have had new people to talk with. But I would go, and there's one I'd go check something out with, and I don't care what I wanted to do. She would just smile and say, well, I just think that's wonderful. I was mad at Ariel and wanted to go shoot him. Well, that's probably what you need to do. She'd agree with anything I said. And then I'd have another one that would just take me to the big book, now this, read this, and give me, action like that. And then I would have another one that would be, and she cussed like a sailor, and she would just cuss, and she said, like, this is what you need to do. Now go do it, So I would take all 3 of those opinions and come back. In reality, I pretty well knew what I needed to do. I just didn't want to do it many times. I didn't want to take the action and didn't trust myself. And so that being honest with yourself, that that you really do know more than you think you do. And so then another thing is stop blaming others. Stop blaming other people because because you can't take charge of your own life. Early in my recovery, I don't care what went wrong. I don't care what it was. Oh, not even before recovery. I mean, even before recovery, whatever happened in my life. Well, after all, my mother's an alcoholic. My mother was this. My dad was that. Yeah, and all those things were true. I had a horrendous childhood. And, but we have to go back and do the work around our childhood. That's what that breaking free or that 4-day intensive is. If you haven't looked at your childhood and haven't broke free from the chains of that childhood. What we have people do is go back and look at the childhood and get your history straight. It's not about blaming anybody or blaming mom and dad, but it's about getting the history straight about what happened to you as a child. And look at that and see if there was any kind of abuse. And, we see abuse different today than we did years ago. Used to, it was just severe sexual abuse. It was pretty much in severe physical abuse really was what people really looked at. But now we look at any form of sexual abuse, overt or covert, I can't even talk, and then physical abuse. And then emotional abuse, intellectual abuse, and spiritual abuse. So you go back and you look and see what happened to the kid, and you do your work around that. You do your anger work, rage work, and you give that back to whoever gave it to you, the shame or pain that you're carrying. Then you bring it up to today into adult life, and you look back and you say, so what? That shouldn't have happened to a dog, let alone a kid. Now what? When we get into the now what, I am responsible today as an adult for the good things in my life and the not so good things. So I need to quit blaming anyone else and pointing my finger at someone else. That old saying, when we have one finger pointing at someone else, we've got 3 pointing back at ourselves. Probably all heard that. And so then another thing is explore the difference between feelings and facts. Something can happen and, we can get stuck in the feelings. I feel bad, I feel so sad, and we want people to own those feelings. We teach feelings here and do not ignore those feelings. But we can get stuck in the feelings and we can make our feelings facts. They're not always facts. The fact is, like I just said, we're adults today. And guess what? I wouldn't go back and be a kid again if I had, if I could, because I love being an adult and being able to, make my own decisions, good, bad, or indifferent. And so it's, stop blaming and start taking charge of your own life. So it's kind of bad when you can't read your own notes here, I'm trying. And then another thing is stop comparing yourself to other people, particularly family members or anyone really, of what they've achieved or what they have and what you don't have. And, when you start comparing yourself to someone else, what you compare is the very worst quality in yourself, and you judge by someone's best qualities. And maybe you're judging yourself against someone that is a high achiever. Maybe they're a high achiever in every area of their life. And here you judge yourself, maybe one thing in your life that that you don't feel good about. Well, you judge yourself against someone that appears to have it all together. So, quit comparing. We're all individuals. So that's another thing. Stop comparing yourself, your weakest points to someone else's strongest points. And this is where affirmations come in. And we talk about affirmations a lot. And we give clients, when they come in, we give them, actually we still do this. Everybody does an affirmation, 5 affirmations at every meal. And then we recommend that you write 50 short affirmations and look in the dark part of your eye in a mirror 5 times a day and say those affirmations to yourself for 2 weeks. If you do that, that brain is going to pick that up. I was reading an article this morning in People magazine after I did my meditation. I was reading an article and it was really good, and I'm going to check into it. It was about this woman that had severe depression and anxiety, and this it's not new, it's been out since the 90s. It's a brain thing. Anyway, I don't know enough about it to explain it, but they went on to say how powerful the brain is and how the brain can be recharged and can, get back on track. That's what affirmations will do. That brain will pick those affirmations up, and it can begin to change the way you feel about yourself. So feelings are not facts. You need to gather your facts and see really what's true about the situation. But remember, all your feelings about it may not be real. Get your facts straight. So, it sounds like I'm preaching now. Just stop making excuses for yourselves. Stop making excuses. Don't let excuses keep you stuck. And I hear this all the time working with people. Well, I couldn't stay on my food plan because I had company come in. I couldn't stay on my food plan because my kids were sick. I couldn't stay on my food plan because we went on vacation. I couldn't stay on my food plan because of Christmas, blah, 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 blah. Those are excuses, folks. That is not a reality. What has happened, and I'll hear people say, well, we don't just fall into relapse. And next week I'm going to be talking about triggers. But we don't just go along and fall into relapse. The thought to relapse comes way before we pick up any substance. It comes way before. So when we think about it, we've got time to make a different choice, a different decision, of what we're going to do. So when people, and I hear it all the time, excuses, excuses, excuses. And what I believe, and I may be the only one that believes this, but what I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, they have never accepted that they have a disease. Now, the first step says we admit it. We can admit till hell freezes over that we're alcoholic or have an eating disorder or a sex addiction or whatever. We can admit it and then keep acting out. Admit, I couldn't help that. I went to a family reunion and they had whatever, my favorite whatever. I couldn't help it. So when I hear that, and I'm not judging anybody, this is the honest truth. Or if people say, well, my dad died, and death is horrible, and I just couldn't go through that grief without drinking, and I couldn't go through that grief without calling my drug dealer. What I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, when people do that, they have not accepted that they have a disease. Once people accept it, they're going to treat it like they treat, you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you do those routine things that we're talking about. Recovery has got to be a routine. It is a habit that you do every day, every hour, every minute, regardless of who comes to see you, regardless of if the sun comes up or the sun goes down or the pandemic or what. I hear all the time, well, I couldn't stay on my food plan because of the pandemic. Well, hell, yes, you can. You sure can. It doesn't make any difference. The pandemic, you could even do it better because you're home and you can prepare your own meals, unless you're some kind of invalid and people bring you food. You order that food yourself. You go buy groceries yourself. You go buy anyway, I'm gone preaching. But when people accept that they have a disease, they're going to treat it. And when they relapse, as simple as it is, they forgot they have a disease. The minute you decide to pick up, you decide, maybe I don't even have it. Or maybe I don't have it that bad. Maybe I am just too strict on myself. Maybe one drink wouldn't hurt. And that type of thinking is going to get you, into stuck in your life, and it'll put you back into your addiction. And so, stop making excuses for yourself. It's about grow yourself up. So, and then, one of the things, be grateful. Gratitude, and we talk about gratitude nearly every Wednesday of some kind. Be grateful for what you have. When you think you're stuck somewhere, look around at what you do have, not what you don't have. Look around and get grateful for just the small things, Maybe a telephone that works that you could pick up and call someone. Maybe the electricity is burning. We went 4 days without it. Electricity, during the blizzard, and 4 days without water. I will never turn on a light ever again in my life without thinking about those days. So it's about getting grateful. And then when you get grateful for what you have, this is the law of prosperity. When you get grateful for what you have, what it does, it creates space for good stuff, better stuff to come in. But as long as we hold on so tight and we, get to feeling bad about ourselves and we, woe is me, nothing's ever going to work, as long as we're doing that, it closes off all of the good stuff to come in. So when we're grateful, it creates space, lots of good space for the good stuff to come in because you're ready and willing to receive it. And then we started with prayer. We're going to end with prayer. Pray and take action. Pray and take action, and the results will follow. And this is a quote that I found that I really liked. And think about this. It's from E.M. Foster. I don't know who he is, but or maybe it's her. E.M. Foster. I think this is very strong words. We must be willing to let go of the life we have planned so as to know the life that is waiting for us. think about that. We must be willing to let go of the life we have planned. You know, a lot of us have big plans. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do something else, you know. And maybe those plans fall through. You know, this past year, a lot of people's plans fell through. But I think what this last year is going to do, this pandemic, I think it's going to create some openings for people to get creative, to find other new avenues, things that they wanted to do before and never had the courage to do because they were afraid to lose if they, you know, turn loose of that job or that business or that something. So anyway, we must be willing to let go of the life that we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. So in your imagination, everything starts in our brains and our imagination. In your imagination, I would encourage you this week to really think about what you want your life to look like, down to every small part of it. And, you know, there may be some things you'll want to eliminate. A lot of times there's things that in our lives that are taking up space that really don't serve us. But we have had them there for so long, we don't know how to not do those certain things. So I hope you'll spend this next week really getting up into your imagination and imagine what you would like for your life to look like that is waiting for you. God knows the plan. All we have to do is be still and know and listen. So that's what I have. Some of it's preaching and some of it's sharing. But what do y'all have about, are any of you stuck in your life? Have you been able to break free of some things? Let's share about breaking free in your being stuck in your life, breaking free from being stuck in your life.